4 years ago, America and the rest of the world saw its most intense spike in unemployment in recorded history.
Yep, cold.
In today's news cycle, that is ancient history. But what isn't ignored is what has been left behind. There are now over 10 million people, mostly men in America, who are not working, not studying, not retired, and not institutionalized. They're just doing nothing. COVID accelerated this trend, but it's been going on for decades. Since the 1960s, about 0.1% of American men have given up on work to never come back every single month. So,
does this guy bring up women as well, or is it just about men? I'm just genuinely curious. I want to know context. If it's how bad is it in comparison?
Why are so many people giving up so consistently? And more importantly, how are these people surviving without a job in this economy?
In October, Mississippi's labor force participation rate was nearly 54%.
I know we already watched a video talking about how it's mostly men. I know. I need more context because I don't know the statistics of man versus women. I know men is higher. I just want to see the actual numbers, but I guess not. It's not important.
The national rate was over 62%.
How many jobs on these two?
Damn!
It's been over 1,000 combined.
They're not working and they're not looking for a job, and those are the folks who we have to get into the labor market.
Why aren't some Americans getting back to work? It's the million-dollar question.
Because they don't get paid enough and it's not worth it, and it's more worth it to suck on the government's teeth. Next question. It's really that simple. Not worth it.
There are a lot of reasons why someone might not participate in the labor force. They might have retired, they might be still studying for qualifications, there might be people who are too sick to work, stay-at-home spouses, members of the military who are clearly working but don't officially count as part of the labor force, and then of course, there are just really rich people who don't need to work to maintain their lifestyle.
Yeah, but that's like 0.1%. That doesn't account for 60% of men. Yeah.
These groups have always existed, but there is a new group growing alongside them, which are people who have just given.
Damn, look at this freaking spike. And you know, the most fricked up part about this is that it did not go down. It just went down a little bit and it was just like, yep, I'm gonna keep cruising. It's been 4 years. It went down. It didn't even go down a half. It went down by like a quarter or a third. They simply aren't being hired. Yes, you sign up and go to a job interview and they're like, I'm sorry, you need like 10 bachelor degrees and 5 certificates and 45 years of experience. Oh, but you're 25? Okay, well, too bad. Go suck a dick. Yeah, go suck a dick on the corner. You'll find a job there.
Up.
We ain't hiring,
the fastest growing
bitch.
group of these labor force dropouts have been men between the ages of 25 and 55. Men in this age range would typically be in the prime of their careers, but more and more of them are not working at all. Now, some of this can simply be explained by the fact that more women have entered the workforce. In fact, up until 2008, women were entering the workforce almost as quickly as men were leaving it. Some men just took on demand.
The women entered the workforce. Coincidentally, career women became a thing. Stay-at-home moms is now kind of a bad connotation. They took our jobs. Women get favored in higher education most of the time. Women graduate more often.
Domestic roles as stay-at-home husbands while their wives or partners focus on their careers instead. According to Pew Research, young women are now earning significantly more than young men in most major cities in America.
Really?
Young women are also.
I didn't expect that. I thought there was a really serious wage gap. Have I been misinformed? I thought there was a really big pay gap. That women don't earn as much. I'm thinking there's something going on here. Thinking it's just in the US. I've always always been told since I was like 16 years old that women earn less money per dollar than men. Yeah, that's what I was taught when I was young. I'm just saying.
Graduating college at higher rates than men. So
yeah, but their college degrees are probably dog shit and not actually useful. That's the problem. I bet you that reason why it's so high is, and also they enroll more, is because they're just like nothing burger degrees.
It makes sense that a growing group of men are tossing aside typical gender roles and doing work that doesn't get counted as typical employment.
Sure.
If this were the whole story...
I'm not dissing on stay-at-home dads. I'm not. It's just... I mean, I think biologically men are more inclined to have a job that they grind for, at least from what I understand. Like, I've talked to my brother and my dad, and when I talk to them about this kind of thing, they always say they feel very unfulfilled when they think about, like, retiring. It's like, you can't really turn off the brain like that, and you need to find something else to do, like volunteering or, like, building stuff. Even if it's at your house and you're retired.
There would be absolutely nothing wrong with this.
Yeah, like a hobby, exactly.
But let's be honest.
A serious
having
one,
a stay-at-home
like
parent, no matter what gender they are, is a luxury that most people simply cannot afford in the
someone typed gooning. Mods, get his balls.
Modern age. Especially young people who are the fastest growing group of labor force dropouts. There is something more going on here. Nicholas Eberstadt is a political economist who published the book Men Without Work, which tracked the trend of working-age men simply giving up on work and largely removing themselves from society in the process. His book, which was first published in 2016, lines up perfectly with a 2022 study on the issue conducted by the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston.
At the same time, non-college men's earnings, measured as a share of the average earnings of all prime-age workers, have fallen by more than 30% since 1980. Holy crap, 30% since 1980 is insane. Oh my god. That's almost 45 years, man.
Which found that men without a college degree in particular were dropping out of work because their earnings power was significantly lower than their peers who did have a 4-year degree.
I hate
That's
that.
not unusual, because college-educated people should expect to earn more than non-college-educated workers on average. But the finding found that the gap between the two groups had widened significantly, especially amongst college-educated versus non-college.
Holy! What happened here? What happened between like 1985 and 1990?
College-educated men. Now, this was particularly surprising to the researchers because it would actually make more sense that higher income workers would drop out of the labor force, because if they are earning a lot of money, they have a better chance of marrying a higher earning spouse or just saving up more money for an early retirement. Instead, they found...
I think this is AI. This looks like AI, I don't know why.
Instead, they found...
There's something really eerie about this, I'm sorry.
Early retirement. Instead, they found the opposite.
Maybe I'm
the group that earned less were more likely to drop out of work. And yes, before you ask, the study did account for the fact that people not working won't be making an income, so they would automatically be in the non-working low-income group. Now, since men are now overrepresented in non-college graduates, they were the largest group of people giving up on work. But even though it's tempting to make this an entirely gender-specific issue, and to be honest, it would make for a more engaging YouTube video.
It would. I'm surprised he's not bringing it up, but I mean, it's his video.
There are some bigger forces at play here. The reason that people with lower incomes were dropping out was simply because they had less to lose and more to gain. Most unskilled jobs cannot buy you a comfortable lifestyle basically anywhere in America anymore. And as more people tie their identity and social status to their work and income, it's become much harder to accept unglamorous service positions.
Another big factor is that back in the 1980s, if you stuck with one company, and this is anecdotal, but I think this rings true through a lot of Americans and maybe Europeans too. I don't know. But my dad and my mom told me that if you stuck with a company for most of your life, that's how you climbed the corporate ladder. Now it's the complete inverse, where jumping from job to job, which is really, really inconvenient because sometimes they send you across state or you have to move, which is really, really bad for like your mental health and your social connections. It makes you more money, but it makes you ultimately unhappy. Companies used to encourage your loyalty in staying with one company, and jumping from job to job was considered not great. It was like frowned upon. Like not frowned upon, like you couldn't punish them for it, but they didn't like it. Like something really bad had to happen for someone who's been at a company for 20 years to like jump to another company. It was either like more money, more benefits, or like something happened, like, you know.
If you were given two options, honestly consider which one you would choose. You could scrape by working a few minimum wage jobs where you are on your feet dealing with customers and managers all day. A job where you are unlikely to advance too far without a degree, and you won't have much time or energy left at the end of the day to pursue side projects. You might also be working a job that you aren't exactly proud to share with your friends, family, or romantic interests.
Sure.
The other option is that you could scrape by on whatever government programs or family support you could find. Maybe work on some side projects in your spare time, or just fill your day with low-cost recreation like playing video games.
I heard from friends that worked in like the medical field that at one point they lost their jobs due to COVID, and there was some sort of like, you know, like you get paid for basically getting let go from your job due to COVID. And that paid more than their actual job. It was insane hearing that. And it makes no sense to me. Like the pay for staying at the job during COVID in the medical field, where you risk your life and your health helping other people who got fired from that job or let go or whatever, got paid more money for staying at home. And that happened all across the nation. It's insane that that was allowed to happen.
I would like to think I appreciate the value of a hard day's work, but I have always had the luxury of a prestigious career and successful business.
Yeah.
Given these specific options, how would you choose to spend your day? If you are brave enough, go ahead and share it in the comments below, so people on
I would spend my time playing Call of Duty.
the internet can call you a bootlicker or a lazy zoomer, respectively. Now, the second option also has the advantage that if someone asks you what you do for work, you can just tell them that you are working on a new business or taking some time off. The Fed study found that this was one of the biggest reasons people didn't want to take on jobs that they thought were beneath them. Now, no matter what side of the fence you are on, this issue affects us all. These millions of people are out of work at the same time as we have major issues with worker shortages in our most important industries. And
there's a lot of countries that have major labor shortages. What was it, Korea? Korea has a major like labor shortage.
this trend is only going to get worse unless something changes. So it's time to learn how money works to find out how these people are surviving without work and what it means for the rest of the workforce if they never come back. This week's video is sponsored by Brilliant. Brilliant is an interactive learning platform that turns complex topics into engaging and easy to understand lessons. Whether you're interested in math, data analysis, programming, or AI, Brilliant helps you master the material through hands-on problem solving. One of their latest offerings is the Introduction to Probability course. This course dives into the fundamentals of probability, teaching you how to make informed decisions by analyzing real-world data. It's perfect for anyone learning to enhance their critical thinking and data interpretation skills. I've personally found this course invaluable. It breaks down challenging concepts into bite-sized lessons, making it easy to follow and apply in everyday situations. Plus, learning through interactive exercises is so much more effective than traditional methods. What I love about Brilliant is how seamlessly it fits into your daily routine. You can learn in just a few minutes a day on your computer, smartphone, or tablet, making it incredibly convenient no matter how busy your schedule is. To try everything Brilliant has to offer, including their Introduction to Probability course, for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/howmoneyworks or click the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off your annual premium subscription. Apart from a few early retirees that made a lot of money at a young age, most of the people who are not working and are not looking for work are living extremely basic lives. Eberstadt's research went beyond the broader demographic studies and focused a lot on trying to figure out what these people were actually doing.
People who were close to retiring during COVID at that age also got really fucked over by Social Security. Social Security has gotten so bad that it's basically almost impossible to live off of it. If you are on the poor middle class, like lower middle class scale of a family that's going into retirement, it is so difficult to live off of it. It's extremely difficult. Some people I've read online, and again, I do feel bad for the people who grew up, and then people are like, "Oh, boomers are rich and everything." There's a lot of poor boomers, and it's sad. They live off of credit cards, and they live off of, like, basically, I'm gonna pass away and I'm gonna get a bunch of bad credit because I don't care. I'm gonna pass away in like 10 years, right? It doesn't matter. So they like rack up debt to, like, you know, live. And they're not even spending it on shit. It's just like food and groceries and rent and bills. Yeah, it's really sad. Yeah, my grandma, yeah, I believe it. Social Security Trust Fund will be ended by 2035. Yes, and I've heard that from, like, friends of friends, too, that have, like, parents that are, like, boomers. And I don't mean that, like, in a bad way. They are actually baby boomers.
With their time. Now,
Very
the next
sad.
few minutes are going to contain some hard-to-swallow pills. And even though Eberstadt is sometimes a bit direct with the way he lays out the facts, his research and his recommendations address some of the most important issues in our society. He found through national surveys that the average man not in work or looking for work was basically doing what you might expect. They were sitting at home, spending a majority of time behind a screen. Most of them contribute very little to looking after other members of a household, and they were underrepresented in other civic activities like volunteering, even though they had more free time than their peers who worked or studied. He also poked holes in the idea that a lot of these men had just become stay-at-home spouses taking care of chores to support their working partner, a role that was, in the past, typically performed by women. Unfortunately, according to the federal survey data he collated, the average labor force dropout spent an equal amount of time on household care as the average
NILF? Is that like MILF but for men?
employed woman, and 5 minutes less per day than the average unemployed man, who would theoretically be spending at least some of
This seems like a really small sample size. I'm just saying.
their time looking for a new job. What they were spending their time on was leisure activities and sleeping. The average person who had dropped out of the labor force was also far less likely to have children or a partner, and Eberstadt theorized that there were 2 reasons for this. The first reason was that children, dating, and a family life are expensive commitments that people trying to get by without a job just simply wouldn't be able to afford. The second reason was that people with a family to support were inherently more motivated to go out and provide, even if it meant working a job that a single person wouldn't. Of course.
So you're telling me this is tied to fertility and birth rates? Color me shocked. Men that were programmed for millions of years to have a sense of belonging with a mate, to have a offspring, to have a child, since they were monkeys that evolved into humans. Oh, that's insane. Wow, really? We needed to spend millions of dollars to figure that one out, and now that men are unhappy and they don't have partners and feel very sad, and the suicide rate is really, really high? What? No way, really? Yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to think I could be a scientist, Chad, don't you think?
This is a large sample size, and there are plenty of people with children who don't work, and plenty of couples totally outside of the labor force as well. But even without these typical responsibilities, daily life is still very expensive.
Inflation.
Government benefits for people out of work typically only extend to those people who are either actively seeking work or cannot work because of an illness or disability. The exact makeup of these assistance programs varies state to state. And of course, outside of America, different countries have different levels of social welfare. But America is where this trend has been most pronounced, and it's also where a bulk of the research on this trend has been done. So as anybody who has ever tried to apply for government welfare in America will tell you, the burden of proof to qualify for these payments can be exceptionally high, with the only real exception—
Yeah, I've heard that from veterans too. I remember there was a guy in a friend group that I played like raids, that I did raids with on the Classic, I think it was. He talked about how difficult it was to prove that he was disabled to the army to get benefits, even though he literally had something really like fucked up with his leg. Yeah, they get treated like shit. And I don't mean like, oh, I hurt my lower back because I like fell or whatever. Like his leg was actually fucked up.
Being COVID-era stimulus, where
super
arguably
sad.
the burden of proof for payments was too low. Saying you need unemployment
And I imagine with disability as well is probably really tough, just because of correlation. I don't know, but Yeah.
Because you would prefer to stay at home all day vaping and playing Fortnite isn't going to fly with Uncle Sam. What Eberstadt did find, though, was that it had become much easier for people to qualify for disability payments, which in most circumstances do not require recipients to be actively looking for work to maintain their payments. In his own book, he highlights how difficult it was to find consistent data on all of the government programs that might be available to these people. And of course, needlessly pointing the finger at assistance to some of society's most vulnerable people is not the point here. What is, though, is that according to data from the Department of Social Security, annual disability insurance payments have outpaced all other major programs. They provide the data as a table.
Oh, that's actually kind of insane. Holy crap.
But here is a nice visual line chart. Dr. Dwight R. Lee, an economist, also proposed that a major element that Eberstadt overlooked was that a lot of these men were working. They were just doing it in the underground economy, which was estimated to be contributing about $2 trillion, or about 12% of US GDP.
What's
this could include
economy?
These people doing anything from working informal cash jobs to skirt tax and minimum wage laws.
Oh, like that? Yeah, I babysat for neighbors. Yeah, I did that. So that counts. Okay, I understand. Yeah, okay. That's fair. I did earn a little bit of money under the table when I was unemployed. I couldn't do it to myself. I did stay at home and play video games all the time, and I basically was sad, but I did do some jobs. Yeah, plumbing for friends, yeah. Yard work. Yeah, I did some yard work, and I shoveled snow for people when they weren't home for like a little bit of money. Yeah, it wasn't great, but you know, I was like, yay, I can afford another baked chicken. Yay! You know, it's not that bad. I mean, it sucks, but
to outright illegal operations like shoplifting or selling drugs. So the work of these researchers paints an image of this growing group of individuals mooching off friends, family, and the government, while wasting their days away playing video games or being an overall burden on society. It's not exactly flat.
My parents reamed me out when I asked for $50 to buy myself something. They were like, hey, can you afford food? And I'm like, yeah. Can you afford rent? Yeah. Okay, well, what the fuck do you need it for? Do you need car insurance? I said no. And then I said, I want to buy a video game. And my parents got mad at me. I was like 21, 22. So, like, I don't know. I deserved it. But, like, that's besides the point. They said, if you need help, like, we'll help you, but not. You said that? Yeah, of course I did. I'm not going to lie to my parents.
But to be fair, there are so many people living these lives. And with nationwide or even global demographic trends like this, broad strokes need to be made. The researchers studying this trend are actually highly sympathetic to the situation of these people, and they seem motivated to actually fix the cause of these problems. I will, of course, be leaving a link to the...
I don't know what the solution is. I genuinely don't know. You'd have to find the money! Where is it going?
Full book in the video description if you want to read it yourself, as well as some great interviews these men have done that lets them articulate their grim feelings in a way that's a bit more human. The reality is that I can personally see if just a few things went differently in my own life, I could have easily fallen into the same comfortable trap. Most of you watching could have too, whether you realize it or not. But this still doesn't answer the most important question. Why is this becoming more common? Most people, if given the choice, would prefer a nice stable job with an income that could provide a...
Because they saw what happened during COVID and unemployment going up. And then they realized that why the hell would I want to work a minimum wage job at McDonald's? I remember a lot of people were complaining in my town that there wasn't enough fast food workers during COVID. They weren't letting them go. It's just that people realized that they could sit at home and do nothing and get more money, or like the equivalent amount of money, and scrape by. That's why that's happening.
Standard of living beyond basic survival. But yet, more and more people are dropping out of even trying to look for a job every single year. There is unfortunately no single answer as to why people are giving up, but there are some contributing factors. Firstly, competition for good prestigious jobs have become far more fierce, while pay for basic jobs has not kept up with living costs. Technology has made it much easier to isolate oneself from the rest of the world, and there are other broader social issues like the opioid epidemic that at the very least have not helped this trend.
There are so many problems. This entire video could be like an hour long if you tried to unpack every single issue and why this is affecting it. Male loneliness, opioid crisis, social security drying up, taxes, money being lost by the government that randomly disappears and nobody knows what to do with it. Like, there's so many things.
One of the most damaging factors has been the insidious myth of the skill shortage, which has led to an economy where millions of people don't have a job, but there are millions of jobs that don't have people to fill them. I am going to be writing an article about how the idea of a skill shortage has been used to undermine the traditional career path of millions of Americans.
This economy sucks. No, unemployment is down, inflation is down, household incomes are up, so many jobs are created, and this economy sucks. I'm this guy. I'm in the 55 IQ bracket. I'm the 0.1 top 0.1%.
Over on my free email newsletter linked in the video description. Something like the rise and fall of the tech bro is a clear demonstration that even the most talented and driven workers have less control over their careers than they might like to admit. So if you like this video, check out that one next to keep on learning how money works.
Wow! That was a really good little verbal article. Bottom 0.1? No! The number is on one side, Tat! What do you mean? Look right here. They're both on the same tide. Look. You stupid. You can't even read a graph. What do you mean? I'm in the top 0.1. See, this 0.1, this 0.1. I'm in the top. Yeah, you don't get it. This guy's mad because he's dumb. He's a dumb guy. It's like golf, the lower the number, the better. Yeah, exactly. There we go. Thank you. See, smart chatter. I don't have a dent in my head. I'm smart.